Your iPhone photos, they kind of suck. Well, all iPhone photos suck. Or do they? Let's take a deeper look. iPhones have really tiny, crappy sensors that just produce a mushy image. To compensate for this, smartphone companies will add loads of digital sharpening into their images, which just turn out terrible. There's also no viewfinder, so you can't get a level shot, and in bright environments, it's very difficult to get correct exposure. But here's the thing. These trashy features and just overall trashiness from the smartphone cameras is kind of what makes them so great. See, a phone is something you're gonna have with you at all times. Smartphones are also very inconspicuous. People aren't gonna question you or feel uncomfortable compared to if you were lugging around a 5-pound camera setup. So using a phone may allow you to get certain shots in certain situations where normally you may stand out. And lastly, phones are not very versatile cameras. They can sometimes get a good shot in very select scenarios, but when you do get that good shot, it's more or less passable than exceptional. So why is that a good thing? Because the most important factor in image quality isn't the camera, it's the person behind the lens. Yes, I'm writing in this canoe backwards, but that's what Google said to do when you're the only person. Don't question it. See, well, having all those lenses,
the nice cameras, the dynamic range, wide apertures, eye-tracking autofocus, and
all those intelligent features is great. Using a phone forces you to go back to the roots of photography. Working to these limitations forces us to problem solve. Choice is the enemy of creativity after all, isn't it? These limitations give us parameters that our creativity has to live between. So with all this, we have to fall back on the fundamentals. With all this being said, here are 5 tips to help you take better smartphone photos. Right away with tip number 1, which may come as a surprise, but don't delete photos that you don't find perfect. There's a lot we can do in the editing process that will really help us out. But before we reach the edit, let's dive into tip number 2, which is to adjust your camera settings. Now to do this, we're going to go into the camera section of your settings app. All the way at the top, you'll see the formats option. When you click on formats, it will most likely be enabled to high efficiency, and you're going to want to switch this to most compatible. Now, depending on what phone you have, you may or may not see the option for RAW images. If you do see that, you're going to want to click that, please, because it will allow much more control in the editing process because each image stores much more data. The last important step is to enable the grid. This will help us get a level and balanced composure using the vertical and horizontal lines. The grid also helps us use the rule of thirds, which is a composition guideline where you place your subject in 1/3 of the image and leave the other 2/3 open. Our brains naturally gravitate towards the 4 pinpoints of the grid, so placing your subject there will allow for more compelling shots. Although this is less of a rule and more of a guideline, it doesn't have to be followed. Moving on to tip number 3, and that's to think about what you're shooting before you shoot it. What I mean by this is you're going to want to think about the lighting. You're going to want to find more contrasty light, which will help your phone's tiny mushy sensor capture more detail in an image. Another could be using your phone size to your advantage. You can get angles that you normally wouldn't be able to. You can throw in the use of shapes, leading lines, and things of that nature to help better your composition and hopefully give you the most compelling shot. Basically, treat it as close to a camera as you possibly can. Tip number 4, absolute must here, you're going to want to go ahead and download the Lightroom app on your phone. Now, it is free. This gives you full control over editing your image, and you can even enable RAW mode, which will allow you to take RAW photos on a phone that normally can't shoot RAW. Last but certainly not least, tip number 5, you're going to want to use anything you have available to you, whether it be a piece of wood like a stump for a background, or a piece of paper as a deflector, or better yet, a piece of paper as a diffuser on a lamp. You can use anything to get the right shot. I kid you not. Go around your house, be creative. You will find something that will be beneficial to you in your photos.